Welcome. This is Small Business Saturdays podcast with attorney Justin Camper. This podcast is for business owners who want to take their business to the next level. So stay tuned for legal tips and great insights on how to protect and grow your business. Okay, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time zone you are in. This is Small Business Saturdays podcast with attorney Justin Camper. For those who don't know me, I am a small business and trademark attorney. I am the owner of Justin Camper Law LLC, a law firm that specializes in helping small business owners protect and grow their business without the worries of unnecessary litigation. This is a podcast episode number 3, titled The 5 Contracts Every Small Business Owner Needs. Our last podcast episode, I talked about the 5 legal needs of every small business owner. So, and I taught you guys about the legal rules around business, and those legal rules is called, I gave an acronym for it, it's called SCORE. You need to focus on your structure, which is LLC or corporation. You need to focus on contracts. You need to focus on online protection, registration of IP, and an experienced attorney representing you in legal transactions. So if you are interested in learning more about those 5 legal needs, check out my other podcast episode number 2. But for you guys who are listening today, you are in for a treat. We're going to talk about the 5 contracts that every small business owner needs. And so it's been a while since I've done this. I took a little bit of a hiatus. I've been crazy busy with Thanksgiving and just all the different things that were going on. And so, I appreciate the people that have been reaching out to me about this podcast. Say, hey, when's the next episode? So I'm back, and I'm hoping to get back into a more consistent rhythm. But I definitely appreciate all you guys' support thus far. And so I hope that you guys are actually learning something, that it's not, too boring. But we got to talk about, I'm a lawyer, so we got to talk about these legal topics. We got to get the basics out there. And like I said, I have some amazing guests from all different industries lined up, ready to come, and I want to be interviewing them soon. But I want to make sure that I get out these episodes where I'm talking about just some legal foundation, some legal ground, so that you guys will be informed as listeners. And so, like I said, today I want to be talking about the 5 contracts that every small business owner needs. And I want to first start off by defining what is a contract. A contract can be oral or written that outlines the obligations and duties of each person and what happens if that person does or does not fulfill those obligations. So it's pretty simple. A contract is an oral written agreement that outlines the obligations and duties of each person and what happens if either person does not or does fulfill those obligations. Like I said, it's kind of wordy, but it's just really simple. Of just, it's an agreement written down, or it can be oral. But I highly suggest that it should be written because people can lie, and it's hard to prove oral contracts. So mostly we're going to be focusing on written contracts. So an example, so if you pay X to get paid, if you do X, right? If you're a bakery and you're selling, cakes, you have an agreement that, if I sell these cakes, I'm going to get paid a certain amount of money. And if I don't pay you these cakes, if I don't have these cakes if I don't make these cakes for you, or if I don't do them in a certain time frame, either I don't get paid, or I will have to refund you a certain amount of money or something along those lines. So it's just really about the agreement, and business is about agreements, and we're doing business, we're doing agreements all the time in business. So you need a contract, and so when do you need a contract? It's the question is every business relationship needs a contract. So if you're doing business with someone, especially if you have a continual business relationship, you need a contract. And why do you feel? Why do I say that? Because have you ever been in a relationship but you didn't know what to call it? You know what they call it, the situationships. And if you want to take out the romantic concept, do you think there's different expectations for a friend versus an associate? Do you think there's a different expectation to a family member versus a friend? Or even better yet, have someone had a total different definition of what it means to be a friend versus your definition of what it means to be a friend, or what it means to be a brother or a mother or a father, whatever? People had different definitions of what that meant and what those responsibilities come with. Yeah, I'm sure you have. And that's why it's so critical in business, where you are spending a lot of time and money and energy, that you outline what is your relationship and what is the expectation that you have from that relationship, and making sure that everyone is clear about their obligations and expectations, and to avoid bickering in the future. And this is essentially what a contract does. It helps define the relationship, the business relationship, to make sure that everyone's clear, and what happens if you do or don't do what you say you're going to do. And so when you have a business relationship, you generally have business relationships that are horizontal and vertically. So that means that you have people that you work with, and you have people that work under you. And so you want to make sure that you have different contracts for whatever on this, wherever they fall on the scale. So you guys know by now that I like acronyms. So I created an acronym to describe the top five contracts you need for your business, and I called it the OCEAN acronym. And I feel like oceans are massive and they're big, and so they cover a lot of ground. And so that's why I decided to create this acronym called OCEAN, to help you remember when you're doing business the top five contracts that you need. Because you want to cover a lot of ground in your business. You want to cover as much ground as you can. And that's the whole purpose of contracts. You never get to perfection. I'm a lawyer and I do business, and I'm trained in drafting contracts, reviewing contracts, but sometimes I miss things, and I have to add it on later. Like, I didn't think that this scenario was going to happen, so now I know for in the future to add that on. So let's talk about OCEAN. What does OCEAN stand for? Number one, O stands for operating agreement. Number two stands for client/customer, or what some people call the servants agreement. Number three stands for E, for employee/independent contractor agreement. Number four stands for alliance, or called the collaboration agreement. And number five talks about N, for non-disclosure agreement. So let's talk about the very first contract for every business, the O, for operation agreement. Operation agreement is also what some people consider a partnership agreement, but an operating agreement is the contract for the business. So it governs the rules on how your business will be ran, what your business will be doing. It is literally the foundation of your business. I can't stress this enough. When there's a dispute, courts defer heavily to operating agreement. When there's an internal dispute between two partners or whatever, they refer heavily to the operating agreement. So it's kind of like a prenup to the marriage. You want to make sure that you have a solid operating agreement, especially if you have multiple business owners. If you have you have a partner in your business, it is essential that you have a strong operating agreement. Um, the operating agreement outlines how the business will be managed. It makes it clear how decisions will be made under certain circumstances. Um, it you know it without the operating agreement, your state laws will come in and they will govern how your business will be ran. And I'm sure that you've worked hard on your business and your business ideas, and you don't want the state controlling how you manage your business and how your business should be ran. So you want to keep as much control as possible over your business. The best way to do that is to draft up an operating agreement. You want to, so for those who may not have an operating agreement or may need to add some things to the operating agreement, here are some key things that you want to make sure that your operating agreement has. So number one, who has authority to legally bind the company? Who has authority to sign contracts and do things on behalf of the company? What is the distribution of profits and losses? So basically, when there's a profit, who takes on that cut? Who gets what? Is it a 50-50 split? If there are losses, who takes on those losses? Key thing here is also what is the percentage of ownership among the members of the LLC, for so to speak. If you have an LLC, what is the percentage of ownership? You own 65. One person owns 40 or 35% or whatever. What is that percentage? That is listed in the operating agreement. You also want to talk about what are the powers and duties of each member and manager. So who is responsible for what? Is one person responsible for marketing? Is one person responsible for creating the service or product or whatever? And things can change. So you may not want to make it too specific, but if you know for sure that one person is supposed to be specializing in one area and another person is supposed to be specializing in another area, you want to have a very, 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 very strong operating agreement, and you want to put that in there. You might want to talk about also what are the members' voting rights, and is it proportional or is it equal? You want to talk about what happens if one of the partners doesn't do what they said they were going to do in their agreement, or if somebody wants to sell their interest. What's going to happen? How can you do that? How will it be deviated? Do you want to have a first right to refusal, meaning that if one partner wants to sell their interest, they have to sell it back to the business first before they sell it to someone else. Or if they want to sell it, they can sell it, but it has to be approved by the other partner if they want to sell it. So all that is made clear in the operating agreement. And a really, really good operating agreement can actually be about 30 pages. You can talk about what happens when you die, what happens to your interests. It's so much you can put into an operating agreement. And generally, when I'm working with businesses, I have like a basic operating agreement to get them started, because they don't want to put a lot of money into the operating agreement initially. So I give them a basic, 5 to 10 page operating agreement for a lesser cost. But then, if they want to, take the time to do a very extensive operating agreement, they also have the option as well for people who need help with the operating agreement. So the next part of a contract, the next most essential part of a contract is your client/customer agreement, which is also known as the service agreement. And so the service agreement, or the client/customer agreement is what I call it, it identifies the relationship between the client and the customer. So you make it clear who's the client, who's the customer. It determines how you will get paid. I want to get paid in installments. I want a deposit, or I want all up front. This is a flat fee. This is a retainer. That's what the client agreement has. It makes sure that the clients understand that they must follow certain procedures in order for you to perform their service or to give them their product. So let's say, if you're a hairstylist and, you have to make it clear to the client, like, hey, if you want weave, you got to buy it yourself. I'm not going to provide the weave. I don't know exactly how it works, but that'd be a good example of someone where it's like the client has to do something in order for you to perform that work or that service or that product. And so you got to make sure that it's clear that the client knows what they're supposed to do in order for you to do what you're supposed to do as a business owner. Also, it shows when liability is shifted from the company versus to the client. So you can have something in there where it's like, hey, if you can use this product, but if you use this product in a certain way, you put it underwater, or if you burst it or whatever, you slam it or you mistreat it, you mishandle the product, I'm not going to refund you because you mishandled it. So the liability is shifted your way because you're supposed to be follow the directions of the business owner and you didn't. And so you want to put that in the service agreement or the client agreement, whatever you want to call it, client/customer agreement, whatever fits you. And then also, it's important to show what happens when your client/customer does not pay. So if you're doing installments or a deposit, you want to make it clear like, hey, this deposit is non-refundable. Or you want to make it clear that, hey, if you do not finish making your installments, I will not finish working on your project. I won't be able to, draft up, whatever it is I need to draft up or whatever. So you want to make sure that it's clear what happens when the client does not pay. All right, so that's the C for Ocean, the client/customer agreement. Now we're going to talk about the third must-have contract for every small business, and that is your employee/independent contractor agreement. So when I first talked to you guys about contracts, I said that you need to make sure that you have contracts for people that you're doing business with horizontally, people you work with, so that's like your partner, but you also need to make sure that you have contracts for people who you work vertically, so people who work under you. And so, but then it's also when you have people that are working under you, you gotta make sure that you identify, are they an employee versus are they an independent contractor. So if a person is an independent contractor, you avoid a lot of risk from the state. But if it's a person, is a employee, you have more control over the person. So I guess I'm mixing it up. So if you're an independent contractor, you're taking on a certain risk because you're giving that person a lot of freedom. But if you are you have an employee, you have a little bit more control over that person, so you kind of eliminate the risk. But the thing is that employees, you have to, as a business owner, you have to provide certain things. You can't just have that control without providing certain things. And an independent contractor, you don't have to provide as much. And so that's the benefits and the negatives for being an independent contractor versus employee. But a lot of times it's get murky. Like, okay, how do you really know if someone's an independent contractor versus employee? The first step is always to identify in the agreement. However, the courts are going to look at other factors as well. It's not just, hey, I'm an independent contractor, but I treat you like an employee. They're going to look at other factors as well, but that's the first step, is making sure that it's clear in the contract that you're trying to treat them as an employee versus an independent contractor. And so I want to list off some factors to help you distinguish between an employee versus an independent contractor. But I want you to also to keep in mind that these are state laws that might be different, but different depending on which state you're in. It could be different. So number one, employees, the company withholds taxes and gives the employees W-2s. For employees, you got to pay them workers' comp. For employees, you got to abide by certain employment laws. The terms of contracts are more stable. It's like a 1-year agreement or a 6-month agreement. Hey, you're my employee. I'm planning on having you here for a while. Now, an independent contractor, you don't withhold taxes for the employee, for the person. You give them a 1099 form. They pay taxes on their own. There's no obligation to have insurance for them. You don't have to abide by a lot of the employment laws. And you can change the term more frequently. You can say, hey, we're going to work on this project, and then on the next project, it's going to be a different contract, different terms. So that's why you want to have, independent contractor. So the biggest distinguishment between employees and independent contractor is control. How much control do you want to have over the person? This will be the main factor the courts will look at on deciding on whether someone's an employee versus an independent contractor. So if you want to control their time frame and how they do their job and where they can do their job, etc., you may want to hire them as employees. But if you want them to be free and doing their job, and you don't want to be able to have to be forced to provide insurance and all the other things, you want to make sure they're an independent contractor. The fourth contract that every small business owner needs is an alliance agreement, or what some may call as a collaboration agreement. In general, according to most states' laws, when two businesses collaborate, that means that one business can't sell or license their product or service without the consent of the other business owner or collaborator. So that can be huge if you are working with a marketing company and they're doing all your logos and they're doing all your social media. And let's say you want to handle your social media a certain way. If you don't have a collaboration agreement in place, technically the marketing company has the right to say you can't promote that logo without my permission. So it's incredibly important to make sure that you have collaboration agreements depending on who you're collaborating with. You want to make sure it changes on what's included in that, but you definitely want to have one if you're working with other businesses. It's like and this is a really tricky one because everybody's not your employee or independent contractor. Everyone is not someone you want to be a partner with, but you definitely want to have collaborators, as you're working on your product or service. So there may be times when you, like I said, you hire someone to do something for your company, vice versa, who's not an employee or contractor. And so you might have vendors that you work with or X, Y, and Z, and those are what I would call an alliance or collaboration agreement. What's needed in that agreement is for you to outline the terms and conditions of the working relationship, which includes the scope of the project. So how long is the project? What exactly is the project that you guys are collaborating on? You need to talk about how you're going to share responsibilities, and how they will be allocated, and how profits will be shaped out. You want to make sure that's clear. You also want to make sure it's clear who has rights to intellectual property, such as copyright ownership, etc. You might also want to address how do you handle disputes. Do you want to do outside of court, or do you want to do whatever court? You can do a dispute resolution, different ways you might want to handle disputes. So that's the alliance and the alliance or collaboration agreement. The last and final contract that every small business owner needs to have is a non-disclosure agreement. A non-disclosure agreement, also known as an NDA, is an agreement to make sure that whomever you are doing business with does not share the secrets of your business during and after your business relationship. NDAs protect businesses' proprietary proprietary information. Proprietary information is information that includes marketing plans, customer lists, trade secrets. So when you're doing business with someone, they're going to have access to your customers, to your trade secrets, to your marketing. If you're, let's say you are a chef, they're going to have access to your recipes, or your processes, or whatever. You want to make sure that you have them sign an NDA saying that they will not disclose this information. Your trade secrets can be formulas, recipes, processes, methods, client lists, anything that would cause you to have economic downturn if someone discloses that information to your competitors. So it's incredibly important that you have an NDA because you want to increase your customer goodwill and you want to increase your economic value. The more that you have, the more you do business, you're going to have value with stuff that you do, and you want to make sure that it's clear that they will not share that information that could hurt your business. So you want to make sure your business has a strong NDA to protect you and the business relationships that you have. And so these are the 5 contracts for must-have contracts for every small business owner. You need an ocean. You need operating agreements. You need a client/customer agreement. You need an employee/independent contractor agreement. You need an alliance/collaboration agreement. And you need a non-disclosure agreement. So hopefully all that was helpful to you. And as I was reading and listening those those contracts, you may realize you need help with one of those contracts, and I'm definitely here to help you and maybe advise you. I don't know what state you might be located in, so I may not be able to give you advice, but I can try to direct you to some of my colleagues who may be from the state that you're at. I mean, I have colleagues all across the the United States, so who are lawyers. So if you need help, definitely feel free to reach out to me. You can contact me at my office. Use 219-281-6166, or you can reach out to me through my website, justincamperlaw.com. So that's justincamperlaw.com. So I really hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast. The next podcast episode, I want to talk about intellectual property. I want to talk about the things you need to know as far as intellectual property goes. There's a lot of confusion out there about what is intellectual property. A lot of people have confusion about copyrights and patents and trademarks, and they get them all mixed up. So I want to, if you listen in to that next podcast, it's going to be great for you. You're going to get a lot of clarity, and we're going to talk about my services and what I offer, and really break it down for you. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast, and I really want to get feedback from you guys. So if you have any feedback and things you want to share, feel free to shoot me an email, contact me through my website, or give me a call if you have any questions about some of the legal things that I did. I really want to see your small business succeed. So I really hope you enjoy Small Business Saturday today. And also, if you want to be a guest, you want to be interviewed on this podcast, definitely reach out to me through my website. I would love to talk to you more about your business, and I can help promote your business and your products and your services. So this is great, and I really hope to talk to you guys soon. Bye.